Welcome to week 2 of my August lock-in challenge. Essentially, we are focusing this month on bringing in all of the rituals and routines that I want in my life and removing anything that I don't want. Week 1 is already out, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. Otherwise, let's continue with week 2. Good morning. It is Saturday and we have officially started week 2 of this challenge, and I have really enjoyed the past week and I'm looking forward to continuing it. I feel like I've been a lot more present, a lot more intentional with my time, and I've just been making the most out of my day throughout the entire day rather than just the weekends. So I've definitely enjoyed my week more than I have done previously, so I'm really enjoying that. And I've also been learning how to deal with my stress a lot better. That has also had a big impact on my day as well, especially during the work week. I have in fact already done my morning rituals. I did my visualization pretty much as soon as I woke up, and then I freshened up and I did my journaling and Pinterest scrolling outside, which I absolutely loved. Now I'm actually going to make a cup of tea. However, I normally would watch TV whilst I have my morning tea, but because part of this challenge is to adjust my consumption and reduce the amount of TV I watch and try and do more reading, I am therefore going to be doing an immersive read of Lightbringer by Pierce Brown whilst I have my morning tea. This is the 6th book in the Red Rising series, which is a dystopian sci-fi book series. I actually just finished my reread of the first 5 books and I filmed that for a separate video, so I really enjoyed that, and I'm excited to get back to my TBR to read some new books and also just fill my time a little bit more with reading, because I have been a bit slow recently in terms of my reading and there are a lot of books that I want to read. So I will be continuing this morning by doing an immersive read of Lightbringer whilst I have my morning tea. And then I feel like I did a lot of socializing during the week and I do have plans tomorrow. So today we're having a bit of a slower Saturday. I don't have any specific plans. I of course want to do some more reading later, hopefully, as well. I also want to go on a walk, and I also want to update my scrapbook. I don't know if that will be today or over the next week or so, but I want to update it with the month of July and kind of what I did that month, what I read that month, and do an entire scrapbook update. So I'll see if I start that today, but otherwise we're going to have a bit of a slower day. This is also going to be the first full week of this challenge with no social media, because I did delete my Instagram in the first couple of days or maybe midway through last week. So this will be the first full week without social media, so we'll see how that goes. But I have found that I have really been enjoying not having any social media, and I didn't realize how many times I would pick up my phone to scroll, and the past few days when I've tried to do that, and obviously I haven't got the app, so I haven't been able to do that, and I've had to switch and do something else instead. And at first I did find it a little bit annoying because I felt like I just wanted to scroll, but now I've really found that I am just using that time a lot better. I'm not getting stuck in a loop of just scrolling, and instead I'm switching and doing other things, whether that's a hobby, whether it's going to sleep earlier, whether it's socializing. I feel like I've just been filling my time a lot better. But anyway, let's get to some morning tea and immersive reading. Now on a walk. I really enjoyed switching up my routine this morning and reading instead of watching TV. I then had my lunch and I'm now on a walk. I decided not to do scrapbooking today because it's much more of an indoor hobby and I don't want to force myself indoors. So what I'm going to do is when I get back, I have a video to edit and schedule, which is my reread of the Red Rising series. So I'm going to edit and schedule that outside, and then I want to do a little bit of alignment. I've loved my visualizations. I've been doing them daily every morning and every evening, and so I have also enjoyed doing them during the day. So I'm also going to do that when I get back home, but for now we're going to continue with this walk. I do want to do a spin class on Peloton this evening. I've also really been enjoying those, and I'm hoping to book a Pilates class for this week. I haven't been to one in quite a while, and when I looked yesterday, the instructors that I like, they teach at times that I often can't make because I'm usually
in the office and it's too far for me to get to on time. So I will see if I can find a time with an instructor that I like and book one of those classes for this week. Hopefully I can. Otherwise I will continue with my walks, my spin classes, and maybe I will do an at-home Pilates class.
Good morning. It is Sunday now. Yesterday I did in fact do my spin class on Peloton in the evening. I have been loving my evening workouts. I also booked a Pilates class for tomorrow after work at a time that works for me and with an instructor that I like. When I was going to Pilates classes every week, I was only going on the weekend, normally a Saturday or Sunday morning. So this will be the first time that I'm doing it after work. So we'll see what that's like. The only thing is, they're more expensive than they were, and it doesn't seem worth it to go every week for the price that they are. So I think Pilates classes are going to be once in a blue moon, kind of when I'm in the mood to go, which I am in the mood to go at the moment. And when we move into autumn and winter, I will probably rely even more on my at-home workouts and not go to the Pilates classes unless the weather is nice to head to it. But we'll see what tomorrow's class is like. I have in fact done my morning rituals and I've been reading again this morning with my tea, which I really did enjoy. Yesterday afternoon, when I went to pick up this book to read, I found some resistance to it. I think I had just gotten into the habit of whenever I had free time to watch TV, even when I didn't necessarily want to. But when I made myself sit down and read, I really enjoyed it. So that is definitely something that I will be continuing to work on throughout this week, where if I'm actually in the mood to watch TV, I will. But if I'm kind of deciding between reading and watching TV, I will try and pick up my book because I do feel a lot better when I'm actually reading. I just find some resistance to it and I don't know why that is, but we're working through it. So I am now 40% of the way through Lightbringer. I'm really, really enjoying this book, and it's just nice to be reading a new book and to be feeling like I'm back to my TBR as well. So I'm enjoying this read. I am heading to a barbecue shortly and I don't know what time I'll be back. I will hopefully catch up with you again later on, but in terms of the start of week 2, I'm really enjoying it. I've also really loved not having social media, and the past few days I have found myself kind of picking up my phone with the kind of automatic intention to just scroll, even though I didn't really want to, but I realized that it had just become a habit to just pick up my phone and scroll. And so now that that has been removed, I'm really enjoying it without it, and I'm filling my time with other hobbies, with exercise, and I'm just really liking it. And I feel like I'm fitting in more things that actually make me feel good and that I enjoy. So we're going to keep going with that. Also, one thing that I found that has helped with removing social media and just adjusting my consumption of things is having things planned in the evening rather than just using TV or scrolling on social media to fill my time, because I think that's what I was doing. Now, don't get me wrong, I love binging a good TV show. However, I don't need to be doing that every single day. And I was just using TV or scrolling on Instagram as something to fill my time. So now that I don't have social media and I am adjusting my consumption of things, I do like to have things planned. So this evening will probably just be a chill Sunday evening. Tomorrow I've got the Pilates class. Tuesday evening I will have time to do some sort of hobby. So there are a couple of hobbies that I want to do this week. Firstly, reading, continuing my read of Lightbringer. Secondly, I do want to do some colouring on my iPad, and I can do this whilst I'm listening to Lightbringer because I do have the audiobook of that. So those two can probably be combined, and maybe I'll do that Tuesday evening. Then I also want to do a 25-minute sketch sesh just to get a bit of sketching practice in. Those are like the 3 main hobbies that I want to do. So I will note them down somewhere, and then when I have a free evening, I can choose from one of them as to what I want to do. And I also have a Notion page where I have every day and I list out the things that I'm doing that day. I do have on there like when I'm socializing and stuff, so I do also like to add
on the hobby that I'm doing if I have that time that day. So I think those are the hobbies that I'm going to try and fit in this week. I would like to scrapbook, but I like to have an entire afternoon to just dedicate to it rather than breaking it up throughout the week. So we'll see when I have some time to do that, but I don't think that's going to be this week. I don't even know if that's going to be this month because I want to enjoy summer and I want to go out. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think I have 3 hobbies that I want to do this week. So reading Lightbringer, coloring on my iPad, and 25-minute sketch session. So we will look at where to fit that in this week. Okay, so I do in fact have my Notion page up. So obviously today I'm heading out. I'm not sure what time I'm going to get back, and I do just want to have a bit more of a chill evening. The most that I'll do is read Lightbringer. Tomorrow I am heading to a Pilates class in the evening. I might potentially have time to do a 25-minute sketching session during my lunch break. However, work has been very busy, so I don't know if I'm going to have a full lunch break or not, but that is a possibility. We'll have to see. Then Tuesday evening I've put in a hobby evening, and I've put in the list of 3 items that I want to do this week. So when it gets to Tuesday, I can then decide which of these that I want to do. Wednesday evening, my friend has started like a crochet club, so I'm going to hers and we're going to do some crocheting, so that will be socializing and a bit of a hobby. Thursday evening, another hobby evening at home, and Friday evening, another hobby evening at home. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday will largely depend on what time I get home from work and how much energy I have, and then that will dictate what hobby I do. And then Friday evening, you know, my Friday evenings really depend on my mood. Sometimes I want to go out, sometimes I want to just chill and watch TV, sometimes I want to read, sometimes I will want to do one of these hobbies. So I put it in there for now and I can decide at the time. Reading specifically is just going to be done kind of throughout the week when I'm in the mood to pick up my book, and I do have the audiobook, so I will be listening to that as well. It's mostly the other 2 hobbies, which are coloring on my iPad and a sketch sesh, that I will need to try and fit in as well. But it will happen at some point, I just don't know when at the moment. I do like to leave it a little bit more free just to not force myself into doing something when it actually gets to the time and I don't have the energy, I want to go to sleep or I want to do something else. So I like to have it as an option, but it's not forced because it is a hobby. It's supposed to be enjoyable. One thing I have found recently is I've been reading a lot of physical books and I really miss my Kindle. Okay, the convenience of having a Kindle, putting it in my bag when I'm commuting so I can read on the train, even when I'm heading into London, it will just fit in my bag. I've really missed it. So I do have Lightbringer and then I have Fallen Stars as a physical copy. Once I finish those, I think I'm solely going to be relying on Kindle reads because I've really missed those. Good evening. It is a Monday evening now. I have logged off from work. I did end up cancelling my Pilates class because I realised I was getting stressed out in terms of if I would make it there on time because I wasn't sure what time I was going to finish work. And I just didn't want to be stressed out like that. And it was also going to take up a larger portion of my evening than I wanted it to. So I cancelled that and I've decided that in the evening I will do a 20-minute spin class, which I was going to do anyway. And then I will also do like 20-minute strength workout as well because I think that's what I'm missing in my weekly workout. So I'm hoping to do 1 or 2 of those throughout the week as well. So I will do that this evening and I feel a lot freer and a lot better now that I've kind of got my evening back. I have in fact been reading Lightbringer and I have been loving this. Oh, loving this so much. We're getting more of the friendships, which I definitely missed in the past couple of books, and I am just having a great time. I'm loving the POVs mostly. There is one POV that I'm kind of getting bored of, but then that's mostly because the other POV is based on characters that I love and I love their dynamics and there's some humor there. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm on chapter 53, I think I'm about 60% of the way through, 63% of the way through. So that is how this reading is going. Now, because I have cancelled my Pilates, I do have a bit of a freer evening. So I am going to do a 25-minute sketch session in the garden And yeah, we're going to enjoy that. I don't know if I'm going to watch anything or if I'm going to listen to an audiobook or if I'm just going to draw. I don't know what I'm going to draw. I'm sure I've taken some pictures recently that I can draw from because I like using my own pictures as reference. Otherwise, I am kind of feeling like I want to draw something based on the Red Rising series. So maybe I'll draw like what's on the cover of some of the books. I don't know, we'll see. But I do want to get some drawing practice in. And then that is one of my hobbies for the week ticked off too. So let's head to the garden and do that. Okay, so I did end up drawing for longer than 25 minutes, and I basically drew all of the images that are on the cover of the Red Rising books, and I've just got all of them on one page. I really like how this turned out. It was really fun to do. I definitely need to work on my animal drawings because this is horrific, and I knew that's something that I needed to do. I just haven't done it. So this is a reminder for me to do that, but this was really fun to do. It was also a great way for me to shift out of work and into my evening. So I really liked that. And I think I might do this on a larger scale, like on my A3 sketchbook, and maybe even paint it. So that's something for me to keep in mind as well. But I had a lot of fun doing this. I also do really like drawing when I'm inspired by books that I love. It's something that I used to do more often when I use my book journal a lot more. And it's something that I really like, especially because sometimes I just want to draw and I don't know what to draw. And I always find that I can find inspiration from books that I love. So it's something that I'm going to try and do more often, but I really enjoyed this. I did listen to Lightbringer whilst I was doing this, which I love. I've really enjoyed having a book that I want to pick up constantly, and the fact that I'm wanting to read more than I watch TV. I'm absolutely loving that, and I will be continuing with that book throughout this week. For the rest of this evening, I am going to chill for a bit. I'm going to have some dinner, and then I'm going to do my spin and my strength workout because I've loved doing my evening workouts, and I'm really glad that I cancelled Pilates because it did give me a lot more time to enjoy my evening and my free time. So I'm really glad that I changed that. I'm in the office for the next couple of days and I'm busy after work on Wednesday, but the other few days I do have free, so we will be able to fit in some more reading and hopefully the colouring on my iPad because I do find that quite therapeutic. Hello everyone, it is Friday, it is the last day of week 2 and we do in fact have some catching up to do. Okay, first and foremost, I have in fact finished reading Lightbringer. I loved this. I'm giving this 5 stars. I think it largely has to do with the fact that we are back to a lot of the friendships that have formed over these past few books, which I loved and I missed. And so I just had a real attachment to this book in particular and I loved it so much. I really enjoyed the first book, Red Rising. However, I never gave it 5 stars in the first place, but it is now a 5-star and I've enjoyed the books in between and they are 4-star plus, but I never gave any of them 5 stars either. This is the first one that I've given 5 stars straight away, which I love. I just really enjoyed this. I also love that I reread the rest of the series before I read this one. I think it helped me understand a lot more of what was going on as well. I mentioned before that there was one POV that I didn't enjoy as much as the other one. However, I still enjoyed the story overall and I'm still giving this 5 stars, okay? I have to. I loved this. Now, this isn't the last book in this series. There is one more book, but it isn't out yet. So I am officially all caught up with Lightbringer and this is my favorite series of the year. The only other series that is like a close second for this year is the Ember Quartet, which I read in wintertime at the start of the year, kind of at the end of last year and the start of this year. But this is my favorite series of this year, and I have loved it so much. I really, really, really just enjoyed it. So yeah, this is 5 stars. Once I finished this book, I did give myself a bit of time to just settle with the book, with the story, with the characters, with this series, and then I picked up another book. So I did in fact pick up Fallen Stars, which is the sequel to Heavenly Bodies. I loved Heavenly Bodies. I binged it in 2 days, loved it, and I thought I would love this too. I am about 75% of the way through. I'm on chapter 65 and I'm not loving it. Okay, there are moments where it's 3 stars, moments where it's 3.5 stars, and moments where it's 2.5 stars, and it's progressively getting lower and lower in terms of the rating. I'm getting more and more detached from the story, from the characters, from the plot, from the relationships, from the friendships, from the world building, and I'm just getting more and more bored and finding myself kind of forcing myself to read it more and more and just kind of get through it, which I am going to do. I will complete it today because I'm close to the end. I'm listening to the audiobook, so I will complete it today, probably when I go on a walk later on. And yeah, I will complete this today, but just know I'm not having a good time. And it's partly to do with the book, and partly I think I'm just finding myself drifting more and more away from the romantasy genre. Whilst I have gone through a phase of loving romantasy, recently I've been finding myself not caring so much about the romance aspect of books and rather caring more and more for the world building and for the friendships and for the found family. And then yes, romance often has a part to play, but I've noticed that when a book has romance as kind of one of the main aspects of it, I'm not enjoying it as much as I used to. That's just kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. That is definitely not true for the entire time I've been reading, because last year specifically I loved a romantasy, but I've just found that recently I've kind of been swaying away from this genre, so that might have a part to play in how I feel about this book so far. This is the second book in a trilogy, with the third book not being out yet. Depending on how I feel once I finish this book will determine as to whether I plan on reading the third book when it's out, because it's supposed to come out I think 2027, or if I decide to DNF this series at this book. But I will continue and complete this today. I have in fact been doing some colouring, which we love. It's been super therapeutic, and I've especially been loving doing some colouring in the evenings when I'm listening to an audiobook. So this is the one that I completed last week, which was definitely a little bit more complicated. There's a bit more going on. I did enjoy it, but I wanted to do one that was more simpler this week. So this is the one that I started earlier on in the week. I think it was Tuesday evening when I got home from work and I was just chilling in the evening and I was listening to my audiobook, so I decided to start colouring this in. I'm not going to finish this today. I'm not really in the mood to colour today, but I have in fact started that, which we love to see. Then I have in fact been crocheting. I went to a crochet club on Wednesday evening after work. My friend and her sisters decided to start a crochet club, and this week was the first session. I didn't know most of the people there, but I knew a couple of people, and it was really nice to do a cozy hobby and socialize a bit with it as well. So I started making a phone case, and then it's also going to have a handle that can like go around your neck, and I either want it on my hip or in front of me, but I've seen so many of these and I thought it'd be fun to make one. Also, this is a much simpler project. I did start to make a bag and I've not given up on it. I've just paused it for now because it's a bigger project. It takes me a while to get into it, whereas because this is a smaller project, it is feeling a lot more rewarding because I'm getting closer and closer to the end. I just need to do a little bit more so it fits my phone, and then I can do the handle. I was originally planning to complete this at the next crochet session. However, if I'm in the mood to continue it in between then I will. But this is where we've got to with this. I've really enjoyed this as well. In terms of this week, overall, I have loved it. I have definitely made the most out of my evenings, whether that is for exercise or socializing or doing a hobby. I've read one book and started another one. I fit in some of my other hobbies. I've really enjoyed this week. I definitely think the first week of this challenge was more me trying to figure out how I'm going to implement the habits that I wanted and just adjusting to it a little bit. And this week I've made the most out of that. And one thing that I've noticed is because I've removed the distractions that I have throughout the day, but especially in the evenings, and I've then replaced it with things that I enjoy and that make me feel good, I have found that I've just enjoyed my day in general a lot more. Because before I would find myself kind of rushing through the day to get home or to finish work because I felt like I wouldn't have enough time in the evenings to do what I want to do. And this week I have found that I have got plenty of time to do the things that I want to do and to also have a very balanced week, from, like I said, socializing to my own time, to my hobbies, to resting, to working out. Like, I really managed to fit it all in and I've loved it. And that has definitely been something that I didn't expect to happen. I didn't think it would have such an impact on how I felt throughout the day, but I have loved that. Now, today I do plan to finish reading Fallen Stars and then we will catch up and conclude this week later on in the evening. Good evening. I have in fact finished reading Fallen Stars. I am unfortunately going to have to give this 2.5 stars. I just can't, in good conscience, give it 3 stars, even though I would love for this not to be less than 3 stars. It's just, there hasn't been enough redeemable moments throughout reading this. There's been too many moments where I've just thought I actually don't care what happens to any of the characters or what's going on in this world. And so, yeah, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. That might end up going down to 2 stars, but for now, we're going to give it 2.5 stars. And I am therefore going to be DNFing this trilogy. I will not be reading the third book, which is so sad, but that's what's happened. And I will be donating this, and I also have the physical copy of Heavenly Body, so I will be donating that as well. I do have a few other books that I want to donate to, so I do kind of have a pile of books that are ready to be donated, and unfortunately this will be added to that, but maybe someone else will then get it and love it. So that is that done. Now, when I set out for this week, I definitely had in mind kind of adjusting my workouts, and I know we spoke a little bit about this and about how my evenings have definitely improved this week, how I've really enjoyed them, but specifically in terms of my workouts and my exercise, whilst I didn't make it to a Pilates class this week, I have adjusted my workouts by including a bit more strength and weights into it, which I have loved. I have been doing these as home workouts, which is just my preference, and I've really enjoyed them, and I'm definitely including them more in my week and just not focusing so much on cardio but adjusting it a little bit, which I've really enjoyed, and I think it's what I needed. So I will be kind of continuing with that. I have just loved this week and this challenge, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks to continue this challenge and to kind of see how this impacts me after this month is over, how much of it I take into the rest of the year and onwards. I have largely talked about my workouts and things, but I also want to talk a little bit about my rituals in the morning and the evening. Now, journaling was probably the main thing that I was doing before this challenge got started. However, I have shifted more to meditation and visualization, mostly because I don't always have my journal with me. And so throughout the day, if I get stressed or triggered, these have been a really good way for me to just come back to myself and feel a lot better. And I have been loving them in the morning, in the evening, and throughout the day. So that's definitely a change for me. I also have just been loving Pinterest scrolling, and I've definitely felt a difference throughout the day and just in general in terms of how I feel now that those have changed. This has definitely been influenced by the fact that I no longer have social media, so I'm not scrolling in the evenings. I had gotten into a really bad habit of scrolling for up to 2 hours before I fall asleep, and now that that has been completely erased from my habits and my evenings, I feel so much better. I also would every now and then scroll in the morning, especially on the weekends, because I knew I had time to just do what I want and have a slow morning routine, that I would end up scrolling. And now that that has completely been removed, I have been loving it. I found that I have just had so much time to do all of these things that I've told myself that I want to do but that I don't have enough time for. I actually have the time for, because I've removed those distractions. So that can be anything from going for a slow walk, from reading in the morning, from just fitting more things in throughout the day and the week. Especially, I definitely had exercise as one of those things where I would just tell myself I don't have the time to do it, and I absolutely have had the time to do it this week, specifically in the evenings, which I've really been enjoying, which I know I've mentioned. And yeah, I didn't realize how much time I had spent just to pick up my phone and scroll, or to allow myself to get distracted and to allow myself to fall into these habits that just weren't good for me and weren't getting me to where I want to be. So I've definitely felt a shift in my mindset, in how I feel, in my energy throughout the day, throughout the week, and just fitting in things that I enjoy throughout the week, rather than thinking I only have the weekends to fit these things in. And this is from socializing to hobbies, where I would really just cram it all into the weekend. And this past week in particular has shown me I can fit them in throughout the entire week, which I have loved. Now, one thing I'm conscious of is that it is summer, so I have been up and about a lot more, and I don't know how this is going to translate into autumn, winter time. There might be a slight adjustment, mostly in terms of the socializing. I think the other rituals and routines, and because I do home workouts, I think those things will be maintained, but the socializing might need to be adjusted a little bit. But I do definitely want to maintain some sort of socializing throughout those months, because I can definitely get into a hermit mode where I just won't go anywhere, and I do not want to do that, because I feel so much better when I do get a bit of socializing in every single week. So I'll see how that translates kind of later on in the year. But in terms of this challenge this month, this week, I have loved it. I love the impact that it's had on me, and just feeling like I have time to do everything that I want in a day, in an evening, in the week, and feeling like I have more than enough time sometimes, actually, which I have loved. And it also has impacted my sleep. I've definitely been sleeping way, way better. And I have also been enjoying and looking forward to my morning routine the next day, and being able to do things that make me feel good, and having things to look forward to every day, and having things to look forward to in the morning, during the day, and in the evening. Whereas before, I would only look forward to the weekends and my evenings to rot in bed. Now I have things to look forward to that are actually having a positive impact on my health, as well as just things that I enjoy in general. So I have absolutely been loving this challenge, loving this week, and I'm looking forward to how it continues over the next couple of weeks. We are now halfway through this challenge, so I'm looking forward to how it goes for the rest of the time. Let me know if you've been doing your own challenge, or if you've got any other rituals, habits, or routines that you love to do and that have really helped you. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!